I did domestic intelligence work and then foreign intelligence work, and I was responsible for sub-Sahara Africa, all the countries under the desert, and part of Central America and South America. That was under my purview. And then I got assigned to the president's detail after that. So with Bill Clinton. So I did that for a few years, worked at the White House, and then became an instructor at our academy. And then eventually I went to congressional affairs and worked up on Capitol Hill as a congressional fellow for a couple of years, and then got assigned to forensics after that. So
What
it
does
was
that
good. It was good.
what does that mean to be a congressional fellow? What is that job?
Yeah, well, what a congressional fellow is a program where they take government employees and they assign them to Congress to get an understanding of how things work,
Hmm.
what we need to be aware of, and also to be a proponent for your agency as well. So it's a learning program, and I worked for a congressman, worked in the House, and I also worked in the Senate. And I also worked on one of the subcommittees, Treasury Postal. So it was a great learning experience to see how Congress works, or in many cases, does not work.
Yeah.
And it was a behind the scenes look at how things are done up there. And it really, Andy, it's an eye opener. It's an eye opener. And so I did that for a couple of years, and that was a great opportunity. And then when I got transferred out of congressional affairs, I went to forensics.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is brought to you by Firecracker Farms. A question for you, perhaps it's too personal. Do you like things hot? I'm talking about your food. I'm actually talking about seasoning, in this case, specifically salt. Specifically, Firecracker Farm hot salt. I never thought salt could be, I guess the word would be dynamic. So Firecracker Farms, they're made with Ghost, Scorpion, and Carolina Reaper peppers. The flavor is ridiculously delicious, and everything you put it on gets better. It isn't too hot. If you're familiar with peppers, those three that I listed, they're spicy. But this is a choose your own adventure. The first time that I tried this salt, I put it on a ribeye steak, my personal favorite. I didn't really know what to expect because I've salted steaks many times before. But holy cow, this is the only thing I have put on any steak that I have made since that day. Firecracker Farm is a very small family brand. It's just the founder, Alex, and his family going all in on a great product and supporting great causes, like Operation 300 and the Pipe Hitter Foundation, with a percentage of every sale. Alex has been legitimately bugging me to be a sponsor of Change Agents for a while now. And here's what I can wholeheartedly say. His product is, in fact, awesome. It's not as good as you might think it is, it's better. So go get some while you can at firecracker.farm. Use code Ironclad to get 15% off your first order at firecracker.farm. When you were at forensics, is that when you started focusing more on bioterrorism, or where did that start hitting your radar?
Well, bioterrorism was always something that the Secret Service was very concerned with in our protective mission, defending against biological and chemical weapons. So that was always part of our protocol, and we have countermeasures in place for that. So there was always a connection to that. But my real work with bioterrorism started after I actually retired from the federal government and came back as a consultant and was assigned to the science and technology director. That's when it really started. But we always had a nexus to that, just because of our protective mission.
What year did you leave government service, even though contracting is essentially government service through
It is. It is. Yeah. Yeah. I retired from the Secret Service. You just get paid better. You're right. Yeah. I retired from the Secret Service in December of 2005.
Okay.
Mhm.
Totally aside, did you ever cross paths with another polygrapher named Evie Pompouris?
Yes. She worked for me. I was her boss.
I
Yeah.
have become
Yeah.
friends with her over the years. I have a personal podcast. I've hosted her twice. She is a fascinating, ferocious, 3'11" tall person.
Yeah, yeah, she was good. She was one of our good examiners, and yeah, she worked for me. She was out of the
Okay.
New York office. She was one of my polygraph guys because at that point, I was I was the deputy special agent in charge of forensics, and then I moved up to the special agent in charge, and she worked for me. Yeah,
Okay.
awesome.
Well, I figured it was a small world. I can't.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is. It is. Yeah,
I'm sure there are quite a few polygraph people, but the odds that they didn't know each other. Okay, so that's cool.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so pre 9/11, how much concern was there, at least what you would hear inside the Secret Service, about counterterrorism or bioterrorism? Obviously, post 9/11, it was plastered everywhere.
Sure.
Pre 9/11 though, how often would you guys hear about those things?
Not very often. Matter of fact, not at all, really. I can't recall any specific programs, meetings, or efforts that were going on in terms of that. Now, again, as I mentioned, we were always concerned about bioweapons and
Yep.
chemical weapons being used, and we had our protocols and countermeasures. But that was pretty much it. It was pretty silent at that point, and it was post 9/11 where everything got just went crazy and got kicked into gear regarding bioterrorism. Yeah.
Would you consider, and I'm trying to remember the exact details on this, and I'm sure you'll have the specifics, but I swear that there were members, was it of Congress getting, it wasn't anthrax, or was it? There were powder, envelopes being delivered with powder to the DC area.
Sure. Yeah, that was the anthrax case,
Okay.
which was codenamed the Meritorious case, and it wound up being one of the most involved, long, and expensive investigations ever conducted in our nation's history. It lasted 10 years. So this was an attack, a biological attack that happened shortly after 9/11.
Yeah.
And anthrax was mailed to a couple of senior government officials, to U.S. senators, as well as to news organizations, and it resulted in the deaths of 5 people, and many others got sickened by it. And it was our first, serious biological attack that happened in this country. So it caught us by surprise, because we were not only concerned about anthrax, we were concerned about other biological weapons. And of course, at that time, we weren't certain whether or not it was connected to 9/11, whether the same people behind it were behind this effort, and we were worried about what other biological agent could be released. We had no clue as to who it was, when they might strike again, how they might strike, and that lasted for quite a long time before they kind of zeroed in on who was responsible for this. But yeah, it took us by surprise because we were totally woefully inadequate in terms of our abilities to deter and detect and defend against biological attacks at that point. So we had to really catch up.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get into elite shape, or perhaps just make improvements to your current level of fitness, check out the Mountain Tough digital training program. You can try it for free for 14 days, and you can see the results for yourself. The app allows users to train wherever they are with minimal equipment requirements, whether you're in the gym or you're outdoors or you're at home. Users can access top-tier programming that fits into their lifestyle. The Mountain Tough app offers expertly designed progressive training plans that guide users from start to finish.